And let's speak to James Wild. He's the MP for North West Norfolk. James, good morning.
Good morning. Hi.
Thanks for joining me. So, what have you been hearing from your constituents on this?
Well, constituents have been raising concerns with me since I was elected, really, about the impact that holiday lets and second homes can have. And I think it's about striking that balance, because we want to have vibrant villages that are sustainable, where local people can get on the property ladder and rent. But we also want to support our great tourism business. We're lucky to have wonderful coastline and countryside and wildlife, and people want to come and visit. So it's about getting that balance right so that local people needs are met, but also that we can support a visitor economy.
And I'm guessing, most people are going, well, something needs to be done about this. Someone needs to do something about this. So what action has the government taken to address some of these concerns?
Yeah, indeed. I don't think there's one measure that could address this problem, but the government's closed a tax loophole that meant that some second homeowners weren't paying any council tax, which meant that the money that we need for local services wasn't being collected. And the government's we're currently legislating at the moment to give local authorities the power to double the council tax on second homes. And that would raise extra revenue to support local services. And one of the things I've spoken to the county council about is whether we could look to use some of that funding, if those extra funds were levied, to support local affordable homes to rent and buy. So that's all happening. And the government's also consulted on whether you would need planning permission to create more holiday lets. So if you wanted to convert a property that was being used as a home into a holiday let, you might need planning permission. So they're all giving local councils the tools to help manage the situation. And I think what's happened in Burnham Market is local people have spoken and put in place measures which the Borough Council will now have to consider, so that new homes would be principal residents. So that would be something that the Borough Council would look at. And I think that approach, local communities coming together to decide how they want to address these issues, is the right one.
And it's hard, isn't it? Burnham Market itself, it's basically nicknamed Chelsea on Sea. It kind of comes with this reputation, and comes that, this is kind of what happens here, and that's the normal. So actually for constituents to go, well, hang on a minute, we're not happy about this. We do want to do something about this. So, do you think they'll be listened to?
Well, this now is a neighbourhood plan. It's now been approved by the referendum. So the Borough Council will have to take that into account alongside its own local plan when applications come forward. So yes, it will have an impact. It's not just Burnham Market. I had a constituent contact me from Snettisham earlier in the week, who's concerned about the number of holiday lets there and the impact that was having on their ability to get onto the property ladder. So it's across the borough. So we need to be developing more homes for people to live in, and more homes for local people to live in, and using things like the first home schemes that the government's got in place, which gives a 30 to 50% discount on the market value. They can be prioritised for local people, for essential workers. There's limits on how much those properties can cost. So there are schemes out there. So we also need to increase the stock of housing, as well as limit what's happening to the existing properties that people are looking to rent out.
I guess it's a fine line, this, isn't it? And trying to strike that balance can be hard. So I'm guessing that, these are still villages and towns that really rely on holidaymakers for income. I imagine for businesses, they're kind of targeted to hit those summer months and go full pelt. And it must be hard. We can't really completely cut them off either, can we?
No, absolutely. And certainly don't want to. A fifth of all jobs in North West Norfolk are in tourism, hospitality, leisure sectors. And as I say, people want to come to Norfolk because it's such an amazing place. So we want them to come. We want them to come and spend their money. We want them to stay longer. You were talking about what's the situation like now in those towns and villages. When I'm driving around, still seems pretty busy to me. And we want to extend the season in some ways. We've got a Dark Skies Festival coming up, being launched in Thornham Village Hall in a week or so. And that's another way that people can come and enjoy different parts of the North Norfolk coast, which is so beautiful. So we don't want to put people off coming, but we want to have a balance. So local people, if you talk to hospitality businesses on the coast, one of the big problems they have is their staff not being able to live close to where they're working. So that is something that we need to address, but we need to support tourism as well, because it creates a lot of jobs and investment into the area, which is obviously positive.
And I mean, yeah, it's those first steps. I grew up on the North Norfolk coast. So, for me, those first jobs were sort of the likes of your holiday homes and hospitality and getting there. And even then, it was quite hard to sort of you had to have a car, you had to drive there. Not always the easiest drive if you do live in the middle of nowhere. And I imagine, particularly if you have got youngsters or those sort of coming up to sort of 17 or 18, it can be a real lifeline, can't it? Living somewhere, like Burnham Market or Hunstanton.
Absolutely, and we need to factor that into when the borough's developing where it wants new homes to be built and prioritising them. So there's a development in Hunstanton, for example, where they put conditions to say this had to be the primary residence for people. So those sort of covenants exist. They're happening in different parts of northwest Norfolk, and there's properties in the creeks and other places which have those covenants as well. They can only be bought by local people, but there are more homes coming. Freebridge, for example, is building affordable homes in Brancaster Staithe after the fire there, and actually building more properties, and they're changing the tenure, so there's going to be properties there to rent. That's obviously a key hotspot on the coast, which suffers from parking and other issues, which we've done some work to try and mitigate, because obviously it does have an impact on local residents. But yeah, we need to keep doing what we can to help people be near to where they're working, so that these businesses have the staff that they need and people aren't having to travel great distances to get to work.
I mean, I suppose it's kind of difficult on these coastal areas because effectively, I mean, you've got an entire side of your village that is basically the sea and you can't build on. I'm quite lucky I'm near Breckland, so we've sort of got a lot of space on all four sides, really. But as you get sort of more towards the coast, you lose that. So what is is it a case of building, these bigger estates with lots of affordable homes? Is it a case of sort of trying to tap into sort of individual plots and, if you've got a bit of land or you've got something down the road, sort of being able to kind of help in that way? Which way round do you think is going to work better? Lots of little plots or making these sort of big affordable estates?
Well, I don't think the infrastructure on the coast is there to support developments of hundreds of homes. I think we need to be looking at smaller developments. So in Brancaster, the one I mentioned, Staithe, that's around 12 homes. I think there's currently an application in Burnham Market for about 12 homes, which includes provision for those first home schemes that I was talking about. So I think that sort of scale of development, obviously around Lynn, we've got big projects of 600-700 homes that are being built, but then the road infrastructure is there, but we still need to improve school places and GP places and all the things that come with it. So it's all got to be in proportion to the scale of the villages, and we don't want to lose the character of those villages by plonking huge housing developments nearby. So there are smaller plots that can be used to develop rather than going down the route of having huge housing estates.
And I mean, it's hard, isn't it? I mean, when you hear somewhere like Burnham Market and you've got an average, and this is the average house price of £1 million, I'm guessing there's going to be quite a few that are more than that and maybe some that are less than that. I'm sort of thinking about people I know. I don't know anybody that would be able to afford that. And I imagine, James, for you and talking to constituents in Burnham Market, there's going to be lots of people that are going, there's no way I'd be able to afford that either. I mean, it's a staggering amount, isn't it?
It is a huge amount. And I think those sort of properties are some of the rather substantial houses that you see if you're in the village. I did actually have a quick look on Zoopla to see if there were some cheaper, and there were some more about 230,000, 350,000, but that's still a significant amount compared to local salaries. So Burnham Market is obviously a considerable hotspot. There are other villages are available, as it were, for people to live where the prices and the premium won't be quite as steep. But yeah, that is a massive amount of money for a property.
So I don't think I'll ever be in one of those, unfortunately. James, I really appreciate you coming on this morning. James Wild, MP for North West Norfolk. So what do you make of this?